Hello, hello. Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Pride Raven. And it is October 12th. That means it's the 12th day of Booktober. I already did the 11th day earlier today because I didn't get to do it yesterday. So be sure to check the archives for that. We talked about Immortal Hulk, volumes 1 through 3. And this episode, we're going to talk about Alien, the Illustrated Story from 1979. And let's go ahead and do that. And this is Alien, the Illustrated Story. Publisher is Titan Books. The writer is Archie Goodwin, based off the story and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, I should say. Artist is Walter Simonson, with colors by Walter Simonson, Louise Simonson, Deborah Pedler, Polly Law, and Bob LaRose. Lettering by John Workman. Genre is science fiction horror. This was originally released in 1979. The edition that you're seeing here was released in May 2012. Simply put, it's the comics adaptation to the classic science fiction horror film Alien. It follows the crew of the commercial space tug Nostromo, who encountered the eponymous alien, an aggressive and deadly extraterrestrial set loose on the ship. The commercial space tug Nostromo is returning to Earth with a 7-member crew in stasis: Captain Dallas, Executive Officer Kane, Warrant Officer Ripley, Navigator Lambert, Science Officer Ash, and 2 engineers, Parker and Brett. Detecting a transmission from a nearby moon, the ship's computer, Mother, awakens the crew. For company policy requiring any potential distress signal to be investigated, they land on the moon despite Parker's protest, sustaining damage from its atmosphere and rocky landscape in the process. The engineers stay on board to effect repairs while Dallas, Kane, and Lambert head out to investigate, and they discover the signal originates from a derelict alien ship in Enrip, losing communication with the Nostromo. Ridley deciphers part of the transmission, determining it to be a warning to stay away from the planet or the moon or the ship, but cannot relay this information to those in the derelict ship because their communications have been cut off. Meanwhile, Kane discovers a chamber containing hundreds of large egg-like objects. When he touches one, a creature springs out of it, breaks through his helmet, and attaches itself to his face. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the ship, the Nostromo, and acting senior officer, Ripley refuses to let them aboard, citing quarantine regulations, but Science Officer Ash overrides her decision and lets them inside anyway. Ash attempts to remove the creature from Kane's face, but stops when he discovers that the creature's face's blood is an extremely corrosive acid, so corrosive that it actually burns through multiple floors of steel. It later attaches this creature on Kane's face later detaches of its own accord and is found dead. The ship is partially repaired, and the crew continue their journey back to Earth. Kane awakens with some memory loss, but seems to be otherwise unharmed. During a final crew meal before returning to stasis, however, he suddenly chokes and convulses. A small alien creature bursts through from Kane's chest and kills him, and the alien escapes into the ship, with Ash dissuading the rest from killing it. The crew attempts to locate the creature with tracking devices and capture it with nets, electric prods, and flamethrowers. Brett follows the crew's cat Jones into a landing-like compartment, where the now fully grown alien attacks Brett and disappears with his body. After a heated discussion, the crew decide the creature must be in the air ducts. So, Captain Dallas enters the ducts, intending to force the monster into an airlock, but it ambushes and kills him. Lambert, realizing that the alien intends to aggressively kill the crew one by one, implores the others to abandon the ship and escape in its small shuttle. But Ripley, who is now in command, explains that it won't support all 4 people and insists that we have to continue with Dallas's plan of flushing out the alien. Accessing Mother, Ripley discovers that Ash has been secretly ordered by the company to bring that alien back, with the crew considered to be expendable. She confronts Ash, who tries to choke her to death. Parker intervenes and clubs Ash, knocking his head loose and revealing him to be an android. Ash's head is reactivated after they reattach it. Or actually, they don't reattach it. They sever it from the body and set it up and reactivate it separately from the body. And they learn he was assigned to ensure the creature's survival. He expresses admiration for the creature's psychology, unhindered by conscience or morality, and taunts them about their chances of survival. Ripley cuts off his power, and as they leave the room, Parker incinerates him. The remaining crew decide to self-destruct the Nostromo and escape in the shuttle. However, Parker and Lambert are ambushed and killed by the creature while they're gathering final supplies. Ripley initiates the self-destruct sequence, but finds the alien is blocking her path to the shuttle. She thus retreats and attempts to unsuccessfully abort the self-destruct. No further option, she makes her way to the shuttle and barely escapes as the Nostromo explodes. Now, Ripley thinks that perhaps the alien followed her because she didn't see the alien get in on the way into the ship, the escape pod ship. As Ripley prepares for stasis, however, she discovers that the alien is aboard, having wedged itself into a narrow space. She puts on a spacesuit and uses gas to flush the creature out. It approaches Ripley, but before it can attack, she opens an airlock door, almost blasting the creature into space, but it manages to hang on by gripping the frame. Ripley tries to shoot it with a grappling hook, but the gun catches as the airlock door closes, tethering the alien to the back of the shuttle. It's pulling itself up the tether line, and it pulls itself to the engine exhaust, but Ripley fires the engines, blasting the creature away into the depths of space, actually just blowing it away, period. After recording the final log entry, she places Jones the cat and herself into stasis for the trip back to Earth. Now, what do I think about this? Well, truthfully, I should pull out my DVD and rewatch the movie to do a comparison, and maybe I'll revisit this book and do that at some later date, but right now I just don't have the time. It seems to me that Goodwin and Simonson do a pretty solid job adapting the story. I mean, it is lean. It's only 64 pages compared to what would probably should be about a 100-page story, but they do a really good job of getting to the core of the story and break it down so that you don't feel like you're missing any of the key elements of the story. Simonson's likenesses are good in places, a little rough in others. That might have to do with speed and timeliness of the deadline. The colors are probably where I think the book is at its weakest. I don't really care for the tan brownish xenomorph. And sometimes I think the colors are a bit too warm and light in tone. I seem to remember the film having a rather cool palette, but we have to keep in mind that this was 1979. This is colored by hand with Dr. Martin's dyes and markers and stuff, and not the computer-driven stylings of modern comics. I almost wonder how this would look recolored in a modern style, but in a way, it's probably best that we don't. As a quick refresher read of the story, this works beautifully as a book. It was a monster success back in 1969. The book was a major success and appeared on the New York Times bestseller list, mass market bestseller list, which was the first comic to ever do so for 8 weeks between July and September of 1979, reaching as high as number 7 on the list. The book was featured on the list decades before the graphic novel specific list was even created for the New York Times. This was also significant because the book was a rare high seller for the comic industry in the year 79 when sales were extremely down. However, if you ask Walter Simonson, he'll tell you he didn't deserve much of the credit for the success of it. He thinks, well, it was Alien. Anybody could have drawn that and made it a bestseller. I don't know if I agree with him on that. There are many comics artists who aren't very good at adaptations of TV or films, and that's been proven many a time. And his Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars works around that same period turned out to be very high seller as well. So while I know him to be quite humble as an individual, I think he and Archie Goodwin, who wrote a lot of the Star Wars stuff in Marvel in the 70s and early 80s, probably do deserve some credit there. Overall, I look at this and then I take a look at some of the early Dark Horse Alien stuff that came out a decade later, and I wonder what might have happened if Dark Horse had approached Walter to be the artist on their version in '88. And of course, if he'd accepted, how much different that entire history of both the franchise and Walter's career might have been. Not only was this a masterpiece of its era, but it has stood the test of time. I recommend it for ages 16 up. I give it 4.5 stars. Pop Culture says, hey, Raven, good to see you. Is this a reprint from the Heavy Metal Alien Edition? Yes. This is the Heavy Metal Alien story. This is the reprint from Titan that was printed as a collection in 2012. And we're going to take a little bit of the artwork here. This is Captain Dallas talking to the computer mother after they've been woke up. They find that they're out in the middle of nowhere with no connections to anybody really, because they were woke up by mother for a signal from a place where they weren't supposed to be woken up. I like the John Hurt look. The likenesses of John Hurt on the left-hand page is good. I'm trying to remember the actress who plays Lambert, but I can't remember her name. Looks pretty accurate. Yafet Koto, who does Parker, looks pretty good. There's another panel where they've gone off the Nostromo's shuttle ship to go on a planet to check things out. Like I said, the coloring is a little bit crazy, but it's still pretty solid. I don't know why they did the blue lettering. It's kind of hard to read a little bit, but it's interesting that they did that. And this was actually the first work that John Workman rather, did the lettering with Walt. And of course, they have now been practically inseparable for decades. Whenever Walt does anything, it's like John Workman does the lettering. So this was like their first work together. And of course, this is the scene where they come in and they find what would later be known as a Promethean corpse there by the ray gun there, before they find the eggs in the xenomorph. Facehugger gets Kane. Here's, of course, is the chest burster scene. I do kind of wish they had not had gone in and cleaned up the caption in the top left corner since it's red. It makes it a little bit harder to read amongst the rest, but other than that, not a big deal. So that's pretty much our thing for today. Oh, sorry about the camera angle here. Let me get this over here so you're not getting quite so much of a bright reflection there. Got a little bit sun coming in over here on the window. That's why I tried to do it a little bit later in the day when we don't have that. But yeah, that's our show for now. Tomorrow we will be reviewing Jack McDevitt's The Long Sunset. That's a prose fiction novel. Pop Culture says he's glad to catch me live today. Well, I'm thankful that you were able to catch me live as well. Of course, the Immortal Hulk episode was earlier today, so you can catch that. It should be in the archives on my YouTube channel. And let's see. Tomorrow will be Booktober with The Long Sunset. I don't know if I'm going to have an extra episode tomorrow as well or not yet. Thursday we'll be doing Booktober and What Did You Get This Week comics reviews. Friday we're going to do a Booktober, and I don't know yet, have not been confirmed, but should possibly have a guest to talk about a project that they're doing. And then Saturday we'll do Booktober, and then Saturday night we'll do TV Talk. We'll be reviewing Stranger Things seasons 1 and 2. So quite the busy schedule this week. So if you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you did, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from this channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. Let others know that we're here and that we got cool stuff to watch. In the meantime, you can reach me on Lewis at Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, at Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. You can see some of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Brightraven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions or you want to commission some artwork from me, Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com is your best chance of reaching me. And if for some reason I don't respond through the Gmail address, try LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. As always, thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Have a good one. Have a good one.